Welcome to A Show Has No Name, Season 7, Episode 5 of Game of Thrones we're going to discuss here today. I'm going to quit explaining how we do this show. If you watch the show, you'll see how we do the show. If you don't watch the show, you'll catch on to it pretty quick. This week we had a tie for our third topic, so we're going to do both. We're going to kick it off with that. So the tie was between what's going on with Cersei and Jaime and what's going on with Littlefinger / Arya / Sansa. So in this first topic, you guys just pick whatever you want of all that and go with it. I'm going to kick it off and start the party and go. So Cersei clearly learning that she's not going to win this war through brute force, deciding to go the sneaky route, which I assume means either try to kill everyone when this meeting takes place, or play nice and then stab people in the back later. I don't know. But interesting to get her and Jaime back together after Jaime's been kind of leaning all over the place on what he thinks about her and her plans and whatnot. Pregnant Cersei changes everything. Of course, her wanting to tell the world that it's his child as well changes everything. But I think puts in his mind more that, yeah, she's nuts. But now what's he going to do because he's got another kid on the way, sort of thing. The biggest concern is what happens to Bronn, because Bronn's on her shit list now. Man, if Cersei takes out Bronn, that's going to be a problem. And then switch up to the Littlefinger / Arya / Sansa. I don't know if you guys, and you guys are all going to follow me here, but I paused the note, looked at the note 100 times, kind of deciphered what it was. Basically to me, and correct me if I'm wrong when it's your guys' turn, looks like it's Sansa talking about Cersei's original plan to put Joffrey in place after the Boar incident happened. So I guess my question there is, like, it seemed like the way that whole scene was set up was that he was going to he's trying to pit Arya and Sansa against each other. I don't know how that note really does that. I thought it was going to be more of kind of a forgery or something to get Arya more upset with Sansa. Didn't seem to be that way, so I'm curious where that goes. And one. All right, Casey.
Yeah, so I like the Littlefinger bit. That letter that she wrote was something that she did kind of under the gun when she was in King's Landing. I think it was either the end of season 1 when Ned was still, like, before he was dead, to try and get them to basically pledge fealty to Joffrey. And she wrote it to try and save her father, or she might have wrote it after he was dead to save Robb. But either way, it makes it look like she's more of a Lannister lover than she really was, because the truth is she did it under duress. But it's going to fall apart. There's no way Littlefinger's going to actually get them to, go at each other for more than maybe an episode, because you've got the all-seeing eye of Bran there that's going to shed light on all of his bullshit if he hasn't already. So I feel like that plan was really interesting, the way he let Arya figure it out, because he knew that she was looking, spying on him. A spy knows another spy usually, and he's got eyes everywhere. He doesn't need to see her for other people to see her. And the way he did that was great. Hiding in the mattress is actually sort of a callback too, because when Sansa and Tyrion were talking a long time ago, she says that she used to prank her sister by cutting a hole in the mattress and putting old meat in there, so they would wonder where the smell was coming from. And so I like that callback as well. As far as the Cersei Jaime stuff, Jaime getting washed away in a river with no current pissed me off a little bit, but whatever. I was hoping that he'd be captured, but he wasn't. They still got to have a neat little meeting with Tyrion later, which was great and really tense. And Cersei being pregnant, it really fucks with the prophecy, because she's only supposed to have 3 kids. In the show, she said she had a 4th that died young, so this could be a 5th one. But I think that that's just too far off the beaten path of the prophecy, so it's got to die before it's born. I think she's going to have a miscarriage. That's my prediction. Because it's just there's no room for it in the story, and there's no room for it in her prophecy, which drives a lot of the motivations for her character. But I really liked it. I really liked that Jaime's being the realist in that situation and knows that they're fucked. So,
all right, Adam.
Yeah, I think the whole Jamie Cersei thing was pretty cool. I think that it adds a new dynamic a little bit because of the pregnancy. I agree that there's no way she ever has this baby. It just doesn't make any sense. They're screwed the way it is. What does bringing a baby do into the story do for it whatsoever? Um, I think them knowing that they're screwed, it's going to be an interesting portion to see what happens now when they go to Daenerys and they go to Jon Snow and we get all these people in here. Do they all end up working together against the White Walkers? I think it was a good little setup for them to realize how screwed they are. Um, everything that's happening in Winterfell, Arya is her character's so awesome. Her finding that note, her being smarter than to know kind of that it doesn't really mean anything to Nate's point in my aspect of it either. I think that in the end she's going to read through all Littlefoot's kind of bullshit and she'll be the end of him. I do wonder kind of with everyone standing up saying, we didn't vote for you or we didn't want you to be our queen, but we're following you. They're mad at Jon Snow for leaving. I really want to see the dynamic there of what happens there, and I think Littlefoot's going to try to use that to his advantage, also, to get her into more of a powerful role there. So I thought that was another neat dynamic up in Winterfell that they showed that little clip of those guys kind of saying, hey, we didn't vote for you, but we're here, we're following you. What do you want us to do, kind of thing. So. Yeah, that's kind of my take on those two things. I think that it's just kind of a filler right now, waiting for the big thing to happen. But there's no way she can have the baby, and Arya and Sansa are going to be I think they're going to be at their throats for a couple episodes.
Jimmy.
All right, so I was really pissed off that Jamie showed up somewhere else after falling in the water, acting like they just swam, a couple miles? Come on. The Dothraki are not going to let somebody fall in the water and disappear. I can't believe somebody didn't dive in there like, where the fuck you go? So that was really dumb. I don't really see how he got away from that, or why they would have just left or not been anywhere near where he came up for air. So that was dumb. I don't see Cersei's inbred baby being born. I don't really know why she would want to have another kid. They're all pretty fucked up. And even when they appear normal, they're mentally fucked. So that's dumb. I don't really understand why they would want to do that. I like how she knows that she's fucked. That's really cool. But she also has always been about the mind games. She's always playing everyone and basically just getting everything to come from the outside in. I'm really sad that Arya was dumb enough to allow Littlefinger to see her. It makes me question how great she really is by allowing him to watch that whole thing. Did she not see him? Was her, I don't know, she fell off. Maybe she allowed it to get to her emotionally, and that's why she was sloppy. I'm hoping that she was just sloppy, because, he played her. That was all him. That's 1 point Littlefinger, and I don't like that. I want to know that Arya is his daddy. You know what I mean? I don't like to see that Littlefinger have one up on her. And I think everybody's starting to rebel in Winterfell, and they're starting to wonder what the fuck they're actually doing, really, in the coldest sense of the word. They're starting to wander up here, and they need to come here.
Corey.
The whole Cersei... I guess I'm the only one who thinks she might be lying about the pregnancy. I feel like she could just be making it up, just a look on her face, just to try and keep Jamie on her side. Maybe not. I don't think it'll be born either if she is pregnant, but I thought there was a chance that she might just be lying. She's obviously not showing yet or anything, so she's real manipulative, and she's a crazy chick, so that it wouldn't be out of character for her to make that whole thing up just to have Jamie around her finger. But I thought it was interesting that she knew about the meeting with Tyrion and allowed it. That it's also kind of out of character for her. Surprising that she just didn't have him killed or let it happen. But obviously she has a long game going there. As far as Littlefinger goes, I agree with Jimmy that it is kind of bullshit that he played Arya. She did kind of fall into his trap there, which was kind of disappointing. But like Casey said, hopefully Bran will let him know about that real quick. As long as he's not too preoccupied, he's got so much shit going on. Like you said, I'm hoping he's still getting used to his powers of all seeing. You would think his sister kind of sticks out more than all the other shit going on in his head. So, obviously, it does seem kind of unfair to have him on your side because then you could never be tricked again. So, see what they do with that.
Jeff?
I think Bran will show more neutrality on that, but Bran's going to have a hand in keeping those two from trying to kill each other. And I think it had to happen because it needs Littlefinger to show his cards to both sisters at the same time. And once they realize that, they're going to gang up on him and probably make him a eunuch, make him be like Theon, call him Reek 2 or Reek Jr. I'm really pissed that Jamie survived the way he did. I thought that was just a really last minute, he'll just swim wearing full plate armor and make it. I was like, come on, you guys could have done better than that. You had this awesome ending where he's sinking to the bottom of a lake, and then he swims to the far shore of the lake. All of a sudden, it's like, dude, no. I think they could have done better than that. I think Cersei trying to get pregnant could be a way of her trying to protect herself in case Euron does succeed in his endeavor to be her husband, but still too early to tell. She is crazy, and I think that she found out about Tyrion after the fact. It might have been a little too late for her to do anything to let the meeting, to stop the meeting, because I think she would have stopped the meeting. But it could be the reason why those two gold cloaks were down by the boat. But back to the note that Arya found, that is a note that Sansa was forced to write under duress from Cersei to ask Robb the Ben-Ani after Ned Stark lost his head. And at the time that was to try and bluster Joffrey's hold over the Seven Kingdoms. So that's where that note came from. And Littlefinger thinks that he's going to use that to pit sister against sister, but I think Arya's too smart for that because she was also there and she saw everything.
So I remember that now. Thank you. Sometimes I learn stuff from the show. So topic 2 of the week: Jon Snow / Targaryen. Corey,
Dude.
you get the first crack at it.
All right. So yeah, Jon Targaryen. Yeah, pretty crazy. Actually, I didn't even catch that when they revealed it. I knew it was important, but I didn't know what they were revealing there. Nate had to tell me earlier. But I feel like obviously that's huge. As far as being the rightful heir to the throne, I just don't know how much that really means. And obviously it's a power thing. I mean, Cersei's the queen now. I mean, and like Sam's dad said, she was born here, and whatever he I don't know. I guess more people would probably follow Jon. I don't know. I mean, Cersei's on the throne now, and she's not the rightful heir. So it is a big deal, but at the same time, it's whoever takes the throne has it, basically. So, we'll see how that affects when Dany finds out, because she thinks she's the rightful heir. When she knows she's not, does she change her mind? just give it up to John because, that's her whole thing is she's the rightful heir to the throne. And once that comes to light, obviously she's not. And then John going to the wall, obviously, pretty crazy. They got probably the most badass crew ever. So you would assume, hopefully they all make it back. I mean, you got Gendry, John, the wildling dude, the Hound, the Tormund, and yeah,
Orma.
I mean
Jorah.
Jorah.
Ding dong.
So-
All right, Jeff.
Oh man, I'm glad you touched on it. But John, yeah, that was an epic moment. Him being able to have the dragon allow John to touch it. I was on the edge of my seat in that scene, and I kept telling him, I was like, "Do you know what this means? Do you?" She's like, "What?" I'm like, "Okay, just go back to Facebook and Candy Crush because obviously you don't know anything about the show." and a little bit we're going to talk later, but. And Gilly stumbles upon the same thing. So having John be true Targaryen in wedlock, not a bastard, puts him at the top of the list. He is now the top of the list. And Dany is going to give it up to him in more ways than one because she's seeing his strong side of where he's doing everything he can for the people, which mirrors how Dany is for her people. She wants to do everything she can to make her people prosper and not be slaves. And she sees those traits in John because he's going to do something himself. And then that meeting with the Hound and Jorah the Explorer and all the fighting that immediately commences. And John's like, no, we all have one thing in common. We're all breathing. And pretty much telling them to put their petty differences aside. They can kill each other later. We got a more important mission to do. But I don't think they're actually going to reveal on the show the obvious thing that was glaring in this episode of who John really is the son of. And I do like that they brought Gendry in. That's a huge callback back to episode 1. They did that a lot with this episode with Ned Stark in multiple ways during this whole amazing episode. Not as good as the last one, but I think it ranks up there. Just for moving a story forward. Everyone's doing quick travel now instead of plodding along the road. It's more of let's get this thing rolling because we've got a giant Colossus battle at the end.
All right, so that posse going north of the wall at the end of the episode. If you add Brienne, Arya, and Bronn to that group, you got every badass in Westeros right there. If they cannot go if they can't go abduct a White Walker, then nobody can, and there's no way that they can win against White Walkers. So it'd be fun to watch them do that. As far as John and the revelation that his parents were married and he's not a bastard goes. So clearly, what Corey said is right. The show is called Game of Thrones for a reason. Everybody's vying for the throne, and we'll see who's left standing at the end, who could be on it. There could be neither of them could be left standing. And just the fact that the Mad King was the king before this show started doesn't necessarily mean that either of them have any more right to it than Cersei or whoever. That being said, clearly Jon Snow and Daenerys are the stars of this show at this point. I feel like if I'm going to look at my crystal ball into the future, the fact that he is the king, that he's calling himself a king now, and that he's acting like a king, that he has never, not only is he acting like it, that he didn't bend the knee to Dany, because technically she should be bending the knee to him right now. So it makes the fact that he didn't do that even bigger. So when that moment comes, he didn't secede his right under his own will. Huge point. And to be honest, if I look towards the future where this is going, I think she gets pissed off and the Mad King blood in her makes her start roasting people and not being okay with Jon being the king. I think that we're gonna end with a fight between the two of them, and I if I'm gonna guess, I'm gonna say that Jon wins.
Don't change predictions now, son.
She already
White
roasted
Walkers win.
people.
That's my prediction. But yeah, I'm just looking at this now. All right, Casey.
Yeah, obviously huge news. Everyone was wondering if Sam might stumble upon something in these old deteriorating scrolls, and it was kind of obvious it had to be something important, and it wasn't him. It was Gilly, and thanks to Princess Shireen for telling her how to read, because she found out like some of the biggest news ever. We've all known for a while now, I mean, it's been confirmed in the last like year and a half, we've all known for a while that Jon had to be part Targaryen, part ice, part fire, Song of Ice and Fire, all of that. But the fact that Rhaegar got an annulment from Elia Martell and married Lyanna Stark makes it so much different. It's such a huge different ballgame, because it wouldn't be as satisfying to see someone who was raised as a bastard and hated being a bastard his whole life just to be like, oh, you're still a bastard, but you're that guy's bastard now. Like, that's not as impressive as you are the legitimate heir to the freaking Iron Throne, even above Daenerys. I think that it won't matter which one of them gets it, because if there is a throne left, they'll probably just be married like old school Targaryens. They married their sister wives and stuff back then. Like, it wasn't a big deal. So I think that's probably what will happen if he doesn't have to sacrifice her. But that's obviously what I think will really happen but they'll find out. Not this season. I think Sam will get north to Winterfell, and there will be a collection of people there that all know the truth about Jon, but this season's going to end with him not knowing. As far as him getting his awesome Suicide Squad together of characters to go north, I mean, having Gendry come back, having Davos get him, that was great. Having the Hound, Beric Dondarrion, Thoros of Myr, all those guys with Tormund and him going north, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better crew. Honestly, yeah, like Brienne would be great. Arya would be good in an assassination sense, but not necessarily in open battle. But it's going to be crazy. I think next episode, crazy shit's going to happen. In the trailer, you see giant walls of fire behind the White Walkers, so my bold prediction is dragons come to save the day. But they're going to lose somebody. Wow. Next episode.
Adam?
Mark my words.
All right, I had to unmute there. Let me start by saying, Corey, don't feel bad. 90% of what I know about Game of Thrones, Nate had to tell me and explain to me, because I just don't get it. I think I'm the one guy here that watches this show and just kind of like, wow, that's really cool. And then I get the backstory later. So don't feel bad. Nate felt a lot. I think to Nate's point, Jon and Daenerys are definitely the stars of the show now. I think those guys, getting all those guys together, going up to the wall, going through the wall, it just sets up a big showdown next week. And I agree with, I want to say Casey, I can't see pictures, that what's going to happen is Daenerys now knows that she is not the rightful heir to the throne. I think they're going to go up there. They're going to get into some really serious trouble with the White Walkers. And I do see her sending the dragons up there to help. I think to the points before, Jon is starting to act like a king, like you guys said. He's starting to behave like a king. She's seeing that he wants the same things that she wants. And I think that's just going to make her more apt to help him out when he's going to need it. I see that happening sometime. I don't think it'll happen next episode. I want to say that's going to be kind of the end of the next episode, and then the last episode is going to be that whole fight and battle. You can't get a better group of people, like you guys said, to go together to go up to the wall. I'm hoping that there's actually, when they come out, that every one of those guys comes out alive, and that they all stick together. They all go south of the wall, and they start the big war down south. I think those characters together are going to be a lot of fun to watch. Get Arya and Sansa into the mix with Littlefinger dead already. My prediction.
If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.
I don't think it'll have a happy ending at the end, but
all he wants is to break you.
At the end of this season, I think we have a happy ending till all the crap hits the fan next season.
They're not all coming back. There's no way.
All right, so I think we're forgetting one thing here. Dany does not give a rat's ass if she's the heir to the throne anymore. The people chose her. That is her call to action now. The people want to follow her. She's more entitled now than she ever was. And how many titles, really? Like, I don't know. She doesn't give a crap if she's not the rightful heir. She does not give a crap. So I thought it was really, really sick that the dragon let Jon touch it. But I also think it's kind of strange that the last time all the dragon did was fly around and Jon was on the floor, pissing himself. So now all of a sudden he's got the brass balls to just be like, "Hello, friend." Like, I don't know, it's just a little strange to me. Like, maybe they, like, had a connection when they locked eyes. He was like, "It's okay." Like, I don't know.
I think it was a surprise before.
Well,
Yeah.
that was day one too. Yeah.
Yeah. So he definitely grew some gigantic balls since the first time he saw the dragons. I really, really love the Suicide Squad, like you said. Only Jon and Jorah would open up a cage with the Hound in it and be like, "Come on, let's roll." And anybody else would be like, "He's in the cage for a reason. Don't you dare open it. We're not going to be able to get him back in." And Jon's just like, yeah, let him out. We're not worried about him. Come on, let's roll. I'm really anxious to see their dynamic and how they work together, but I'm also really scared for them because I don't know about you guys, but have you ever seen a White Walker that wasn't with 10,000 of them?
Right.
Only the first season.
Remember in the beginning we saw a raiding crew that was like 10 tops? Like literally opening scene, season 1. You saw White Walkers and they weren't like 10,000 large. But now that's done. They took everyone.
They took everything.
All right.
I think they just want a white though. They just want a zombie. They don't need they can't catch our White Walker. They're superhuman strength.
So, final topic this week. I just phrased it up as Team Danny. So everything and anything going on around Daenerys. Jeff.
Man,
This one
we've talked about Team Danny, I think, throughout this whole thing, and it's interesting everyone's point of view on this. I still think though that she is, I think she's torn now because now that Jorah's back in her life and she's starting to get the thing for Jon Snow. You can see it at the end, and Casey did sort of spoil it with the trailer for next week. We don't know, but wildfire does mean dragons. So I still think that Danny will have a hand in helping them capture something, zombie or a White Walker. But I mean, I think she's coming to the realization, and I think she'll need to fly up there to see him for herself. Because right now she doesn't believe him fully. She sees the writing on the wall from the first man and the children. And I think she is going to go up there and see it. But she's starting to lose faith in a lot of her counsel. You can see it where she's starting to confide more in Jon. And now that Jorah's back, she has him as well. But, oh, man. I just want it to be next Sunday already. Thinking about it.
Same.
But I don't know. I still have sort of hope that Danny and Jon do end up being the main characters, but I think of the track history of people they have made the main character for a season, and they usually end up dead by the end of the season or the beginning of the next season.
But
So you can never.
except Danny.
No, because
She's been riding high for a long time now, and
So
she's
is
the one
Tyrion.
that she's the one they keep alive.
but
One-
Tyrion's still going strong. If you watch that
He
Coldplay
hasn't led
video,
anything.
if you watch the Coldplay video, he's still going strong.
Yeah, but Tyrion hasn't led anyone. He's just
All right.
been riding coattails.
So
Ugh.
I feel like we had a few great moments that we haven't discussed yet. I thought that the scene with her, with the Lannister army in front of her, just that backdrop of her with the dragon resting on the rock behind her and
Oh,
everything,
yeah.
so cool. Such a cool frame when they lit that up. The and then interesting that Tyrion begging her not to burn them. And she's just like, no. And to be honest, as I'm watching that, I'm like, yeah, you better burn these guys. This is war. You know what I mean? We're not to the... You can't be nice to those guys after they flat out are just like, nope, we're not listening to you. She gave them the choice, right? And they didn't bend the knees. So it is what it is. She's not going into cities and burning down cities full of peasants. But, when there's an army there, this is how this sort of stuff shakes down. Also, key point hasn't been discussed. Sam's the head of the Charlie household now.
Yeah.
So that one kingdom is run by Sam, even though he doesn't know it at this point. Uh, and then,
It isn't though.
yeah, I know.
He's
The whole
Night's
reach.
Watch.
Well,
He's
the
a Night's
reach of
Watch.
the-
Sure.
He gave up
The
his
Night's
house.
Watch seems like it's done. It seems like
He
the
breaks
wildlings
plenty
are
of
the Night's Watch now. The also just I really like the scene with Tyrion and Varys kind of drinking wine and talking shit about her for burning him, and Varys's whole point is like that he was the one who was the advisor to her dad, and how he told himself the whole time, hey, it's not me that's doing this, I'm just kind of a part of this machine, and kind of not being okay with it. Tyrion watching the destruction even last episode and just kind of wandering around in a daze, not being okay with it. That's just kind of what leads me to think that she's going to be a little bit of a wild card, more so than we think she is. So yeah, and then just is she the ruler of the people? Yes, but Sam's dad made the point that she's not from here. She didn't live here. She comes from this foreign land. So I think Jon Snow gets the hand up on her for that.
Are we doing Team Danny now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Casey.
Yeah, lots of stuff going on. I loved, obviously, the initial scene with her asking all of them to bend the knee. That's like her favorite. That's her new catchphrase now. So that was great. Honestly, I really enjoyed the so-called Tarly family barbecue that they had. That was super fun to watch because obviously Randall's a huge dickhead and was a shithead to Sam. And so like he'll always be an asshole in our eyes anyway, so you might as well exterminate him. I felt bad for Dickon because he was just trying to be strong for his dad. But yeah, it does clear the way for Sam to not only be the Lord of Hornhill, their house, but they just also got basically named the owners of the entire Reach, which is the richest area in the land. So they're the new Tyrells. So Sam basically overnight just became the heir to the wealthiest place in all of Westeros if he's willing to take it. I think they're setting that up in a way where like he can be the leader of the Reach. Gendry coming back, he can be the leader of the Stormlands. It's all falling into place, I think, for the end game. So if there is a civilization to be had when all is said and done with the White Walkers and the long night threat, there's going to be the perfect person that we all love sitting in each at the head of each kingdom of the seven kingdoms. And I think Jon will probably be the king of everything if he survives. But yeah, everything else going with Danny. I like the dragon moment too with Jon on Dragonstone. I like the little conversation between Tyrion and Varys, although it was really weird because in the books Varys like never drinks because neither does Littlefinger really. They're both all about the mind and keeping it super sharp, and so they never drink. They always just drink water. So that was kind of weird for me to see that, but I can understand their concerns. But I think Daenerys is trying to thread the needle between being strong and feared and being, merciful and loved. And I think she's seeing that she's being held to a higher standard of morality in this war than Cersei is, and that's why she's losing. And this last week, she started to take the upper hand, and I think she wants to keep it. So she's going to do whatever it takes.
Adam. You got
Oh, it's
the
gone.
following Casey curse this week.
Yeah, I see that. This is the worst possible thought ever.
I just
No, I
want
think,
a rotation on my screen.
yeah, next time call me like before Casey or something. I don't know.
I'll go last.
I understand. Pretty epic in a way. I'm really struggling to figure out with Tyrion telling her not to burn him, and then like you guys saying going and drinking with the no balls guy. Yes, I think maybe they're both starting to see too that I won't say her reign is over, but that she is going to kind of give to Jon too. I think it's all kind of, in my mind, it's all pointing that way. I don't know how much longer Tyrion has with her. I think that he's starting to get upset with the decision she's making, and he doesn't know, anything he tells her, she doesn't follow anyways. So I'm really interested to see what kind of happens in that dynamic that came from them, or her burning them, which was, to me, one of the greatest scenes so far. I think that was one of those like, oh man, they just got torched. I struggle with Daenerys now. I think we would all agree when the season started she was going to be the queen, and that's how it was going to end up. But we're starting to see her give her power, kind of confide more in Jon, not listen to Tyrion. It's just she's confusing me now. I think in the next few episodes, she really either needs to take control or she needs to let go. One of the two is going to have to happen here for her people to keep following her. I think they're even starting to see that, John is kind of starting to make some of the calls here a little bit, in my eyes. Be interesting to see what happens with her.
Jimmy.
Oh, go
All
ahead.
right. So I can see how they're worried, but at the same time, if you don't roast those guys, you look like a punk bitch, and that makes you look weak. Like, we don't want to burn everybody. It's not like
sure.
they didn't have an option. I mean, pride is going to take you a lot of places you don't want to go. And sometimes if you're not willing to make changes, you got to get dealt with. And as soon as they got dealt with, the other guys were like, yep, cool, bend the knee, I'm in. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't look like anything I want to be a part of. So I get it. I want her to, it's not that she needs to be feared. That's a respect thing. Those guys didn't respect her. So why would you even want people around that don't respect you? So it all makes sense. I too am worried about Tyrion. I feel like she's gonna see that he was touched by his brother, seeing that he was in a bad spot and he wasn't making the right calls. But at the same time, he obviously got outsmarted, and that needs to be taken into consideration. You can't think that he's on someone else's team when he just got outplayed. People get outplayed. That's just how it works. And so now Tyrion is starting to get questioned, and that's fine, but at the same time, you got to remember, no one's perfect. He got outplayed. So hopefully she doesn't think that he's on the Lannister side because he got outplayed. That just doesn't seem right. I also am struggling with the fact that Daenerys is a girl, Jon is a boy, king and queen. Isn't that usually how it works? There's a king and there's a queen? So why can't we have them both?
She said she had to marry when she came over, so. She
Corey?
got rid of Dario for that.
Bring it home.
All right. Yeah, I definitely thought it did look badass with her sitting there with the dragon. I agree. I think it was the right call to torch them. I do feel like they make it her torching the army and like having when Tyrion's stumbling through the ashes and stuff. It looks like they're trying to make it seem like she's evil or something, or like she's the bad. They're trying to make it. They didn't show when the Lannisters fucking killed everybody, or when
Red
the
Wedding.
Lannisters killed the Tyrells. They didn't show that like it was some big sad scene walking through the dead bodies and stuff. But then when Dany comes back and retaliates, they make it look like she's evil for torching the army or whatnot. And that's what you do in war. She's not, like you said, she's not torching the cities, and they're making it. It seems like they're trying to make her look bad or like she's going crazy. But that's or like she's too harsh, but she's not being too harsh. Like you said, she needed to set an example of the two. She wants the rest. She's not trying to torch the whole army. She's trying to get them to be on her side. Once she's queen, she'll prove to them that she's worthy and she's not evil. I think, she's doing fine and she's making the right decisions. And it seems like they're trying to make us think that she's not, which I kind of don't like that. It seems like they're trying to steer us to think that she's going to be the mad queen or something. But I think she's making the right calls. Tyrion does, obviously, him embarrassed or acting like she's, once again, they're trying to say that she's doing the wrong things, and I think she's making the right calls. So, yeah.
Yeah, when she listens to them, she's making the wrong calls.
Yeah.
Well, Tyrion didn't want her to kill him because, that's always been the code is don't kill the nobles. You take them and they stay alive and just move them
Gain
around.
access to everything there is.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really just
so,
like burning a dad and his son is exactly what King Aerys did to Ned Stark's brother and dad. So it's very reminiscent of history in that way. And Tyrion knows all about that too. So it's a little bit of history repeating itself,
Yeah.
which is scary.
I think the more that I think about it, I'm falling into Casey's camp of she's gonna be the sacrifice at the end of this. She's
Yeah.
the beloved character that's gonna go.
Yep.
Yeah, I almost wish you hadn't said that because now
Just look up Nisa. You can Google it and then you can read a little piece.
I did.
It's
I
amazing.
read it, and I'm like, yeah, it does make fucking sense.
totally makes
sense.
All right. Well, thanks again, everybody. As always, it's a lot of fun. Next week's show is going to be just a couple days late for all you people that are dying for a show has no name every week. You're going to have to wait another couple extra days because I'm out of town. But we'll get it done. We'll get it out there.
But you can watch Labyrinth Lifers
That's
if
right.
you want to
In the
get a
meantime-
fantasy
It's my
film.
episode for
Yeah.
tomorrow at work.
Yeah.
It's already
right.
up for you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good week.
Thanks.
All right.
Hey, everybody.
Peace.
Later.